It's great to be here. Everybody having a good time tonight? All right, we're going to try to make this as painless as possible. I'm honored to be included with this fine group. Because this is such a special occasion, I treated myself to a new tie from Brooks Brothers, and it's pretty nice, I would say. As I was paying, I kind of casually mentioned to the clerk, who, to be honest, was kind of snooty, and I said, "This has got my school colors, maroon and gold." And he replied, "Ah, very well done, sir. Gryffindor." Before I begin, I do have to clarify a couple of details. Are we in the roundest building on campus? Say it's true. Has the audience been plied with alcohol? True again. Okay, well, thank you to the university for filling the only two provisions of my contract rider. We're good to go. President McKinnon, Dean Campbell, Department Chair Polinsky, distinguished guests, innocent bystanders. When the Motion Picture Academy presented a Lifetime Achievement Oscar to the impeccable Cary Grant, he famously said no greater honor can come to a man than the respect of his colleagues. And good old Archie Leach knew what he was talking about. Tonight I stand before you filled with gratitude. Thank you to the School of Communications, Journalism, and Media for this extraordinary honor. Now, you may have some questions. Questions like, why did he give them his high school yearbook photo? Or more to the point, how did this doofus go from CM Life to working with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood? Well, it's been a trip. When I first arrived here, all I wanted to be was a baseball writer. And then, during my sophomore year, I defected from Life's sports department to the entertainment section. And I quickly developed an appreciation for the kind of storytelling that you can do when you're writing about music and movies and art. Writing columns allowed me to express myself outside the confines of reporting, so the notion to come up with my own original stories didn't seem so far-fetched. So I ended up moving to Hollywood to see if I could make it as a screenwriter. I wrote spec scripts, I pitched film and TV ideas, and generally worked to try to be in the right place at the right time. And even though it didn't work out the way I had envisioned, I ended up with a career I could have truly only dreamed about. Working in the music business, managing a band, then as a publicist for major recording artists, and then later in television, working with celebrities doing segments from the A-list of Hollywood was thrilling and pressure-packed, but incredibly fun. Weirdly, my time in showbiz also produced an unintended consequence. Seems I could be a bit of a name dropper. Well, what can you say? When you work with celebrities, you end up with stories. And I've been known to been talked into sharing a few, despite coming across as the Duchess of Tinseltown. Here's what I mean. People ask, why did I walk away from a seemingly dream career to go work in politics? And honestly, and this is true, I had an actual moment of epiphany at a John Kerry fundraiser, speaking with actors John Spencer, Richard Schiff, and Bradley Whitford from The West Wing in Ben Affleck's kitchen. Well, that's just cringy. As we drank Batman's beer for an hour, though technically at the time he was only Daredevil, me and the Bartlett administration covered a lot of ground in that kitchen. We talked about working in Hollywood. We talked about the awful state of politics in America. And we also talked about what kind of legacy do we want to leave our children. That's when the little light bulb clicked on. I should be doing something more meaningful with my media skills. So I set my sights on trying to help make our democracy work better for everybody. My advocacy work in Washington included shielding attacks on regulatory safeguards and providing constituents with more effective means to engage with their elected officials. But what I'm most proud of is protecting the voting rights of historically marginalized communities, people of color, students, and the impoverished. Thank you. I was honored to join that fight in defending such a fundamental right. Now, I can't thank everyone who helped me build this career that I was able to build. So many people, but there's a few that I probably should mention tonight. Let me start off with my high school journalism teacher, Mary Ranke at Howell High School. She was the one who lit the spark in me to be a writer. Not only did she get our local paper, the Livingston County Press, to give us a page in each week for our school newspaper, she gave a kid with no experience a sports column and let him write whatever he wanted. We were off to the races. Next is Jim Wojcik, who might have been my harshest CM Life critic or my biggest fan. I could never tell. At first, I thought Woj was unfairly treating me, holding me to a higher standard than my peers. Then I figured out, that's just what he did with everybody. So thank you, Jim, for that fatherly, tough love with that smooth pipe aroma, just like Bing Crosby. Heartfelt thanks to the Leonards, former CMU musicians John Poza, Lenny Grassa, and the dearly departed Tom Paine. From 1988 to 1994, they truly were one of the best, most popular, and acclaimed bands in Los Angeles. And that's not just me boasting. The fans that went to their shows and bought their records, the critics that raved over their performances, and the DJs that played their music made that abundantly clear. When I arrived in Hollywood, they had just begun their journey to become a polished professional rock band in the fiercely competitive LA music scene. After hearing their new material, I told them they were onto something, and then they got the crazy idea to make me their manager. Well, the next 7 years of performing and recording and doing press was such a whirlwind experience. And it's not a stretch to say that my collaboration with the Leonards was responsible for everything else in my career that followed. I love you, lads. Thank you to Elliot Secular, Vice President at the powerhouse PR agency Rogers & Cowan, who brought me on and showed me how to be an effective publicist. Working with Quincy Jones, Paula Abdul, Clint Black, Janet Jackson, the Rolling Stones. Damn it, I'm doing it again. Well, working with artists of such prominence was mind-blowing. I'm grateful to Elliot for handing me the keys to such an outrageously fun Hollywood career, and for hiring celebrity photographer Lester Cohen to take our headshots when we both arrived at Virgin Records America. One decent shot of this face in 40 years, of course that's going to be the one that's for what's happening here tonight. Sincere thanks to Josh Kaplan, Bill Coppola, and all my colleagues at KTTV Los Angeles. Shout out to Good Day LA hosts Steve Edwards, Jillian Barbary, and the fabulous Dorothy Lucy. Helping produce several celebrity segments for 10 years on a popular morning show with that talent and all those behind the camera pros was glorious. With the Oscars, the movie premieres, the actors, directors, and comedians that I got to interact with, the Hollywood parties I got to go to. To this day, I'm still astonished that I got to have all those amazing experiences. Thanks to Tony Welch, my colleague during the 2012 election when I was with the DC Civil Rights Organization Advancement Project. Now, Tony has imparted so much wisdom to me on advocacy communications, and also, crucially, business cocktail etiquette. It's the contractor that buys the drinks, not the client. Sincere thanks to former Congressman Mark Schauer, a friend since our junior baseball days in Howell. We reconnected after I left Hollywood, and then he got me into Michigan politics before we both ended up in D.C. That Mark values my media advice is extremely gratifying. And I must acknowledge Howard Salter, my CM Life sports department pal, who sadly passed away a couple years ago. Howard was a razor-sharp political communications strategist in D.C., and much more than a friend, he was a true mensch. I owe Howard enormously for the success that I had in Washington, and I miss him dearly. And finally, a quick thanks to my CM Life colleague, Paul Mason, who for some reason thought it was a good idea to nominate me. Clearly, this is all his fault. I'm truly humbled by this recognition of my career. But honestly, I'd rather be telling some tales from the basement. Who's with me? Now, way back in the 1900s, CM Life's office in Anspaugh was a sight to behold. A vast array of manual typewriters, 20 or more student journalists, all with a distinctly dwindling level of personal hygiene than the next, thwacking away on 2 sheets of pulpy yellow paper with a thin layer of carbon sandwiched in between. Triple spaced for easy markup, margins set at 10 and 61, so the copy editors could calculate how many column inches your masterpiece would take up in tomorrow's paper. 4 lines to every precious inch. I remember it like it was yesterday. The sights, the smells. Stumbling down the stairs on a Sunday morning, 30 minutes to deadline, armed only with a tattered notebook and a 40-ounce Big Gulp after staying up all night with a visiting band that played the foolery. In those days, I'd gladly exchange sleep and sobriety to spot any moment that might inspire a compelling lead or a provocative anecdote for my story. I'm sure I owe loads of apologies to the copy editors for surfing that deadline edge too often. I recall getting admonished on more than one occasion, but making that deadline with a piece that could capture the attention of the student body, wow, what a rush. The staff bulletin board got me fired up if I saw a piece of paper stapled to my name. Is it an assignment? Did a source call back? Or is it a note from that cute reporter who I totally have a crush on? Hey, it could happen. That's right, young people. That's how we lived. No fancy digital layout, no fancy word processing, no texting. Like cave people banging on stone tablets. The little editor's office was only a thin barrier from the newsroom clamor. Next to it was a tiny room which housed the teletype machines that spit out the news over the wire. I loved those old contraptions. My first beat for life was the Mac football roundup, so I got to come in on Sundays and play with the machines all the time. It was great. Now, one day during that summer of '84, when I was elevated to the office of Life editor, I was in the office, alone in the basement, and out of nowhere, I hear some tools clanking from the wire room. Popping over to investigate, I was appalled. There was a technician in there, and he was swapping out the old 1950s teletype machine for one of those new dot matrix printers. The horror, right? You know, there's something comforting about that teletype sound. I said there's something comforting about that teletype sound. And on the other hand, those dot matrix printers sounded like the world's most annoying bug zapper. And then it hit me, the passing of an era right before my ears. Okay, now we've got a lot of radio people in here, so this is going to go over great. Our friendly rivalry with WMHW was always entertaining. I admit to occasionally poking a little fun at the expense of our radio pals, including this cartoon of a typical MHW listener that I commissioned Steve Massey to draw in 1984. Yep, that's 91 rocks falling out of the speakers, each with the inscription, Top 40. I kid because I love. Squads of newspaper and radio nerds met on the gridiron in the fall and on the diamond in the spring. Now, did either team reach any level of softball or football athleticism? Who can say? However, we do have some evidence of at least one flash of competence. This is a score sheet when Life bested the 9-1 Rockers in softball on May 6, 1983. The final score was 8-3. Sorry, MHW. Now, Hebler was our skipper. I have no idea if you noticed, he called the MHW team the Cubbies for some reason. But I do know why we were called the Mets. Inexplicably, Jim is a Mets fan. But I get it. He's from Swartz Creek, which, as everybody knows, is the Queens of Flint. Now, I never poke fun at CMU public broadcasting. Well, you know what they say about low-hanging fruit, right? But that summer, I was more than happy to park in the director's space, which was right next to Anspaugh and vacant. They had all moved over to the new building on Broomfield across from the Wayside. Used to be a disco, right? The Alibi? Or as we knew it in the 80s, the Cocainery. Now, was that spot chosen to make public broadcasting seem cool? Feels like that didn't work. Anyway, Bill Grigalunas, and I probably just slaughtered his name, public broadcasting's director at the time, provided a reminder that if you're going to dish it out, you best be able to take it, when he sent over this note of congratulations for our first evening edition. Now, I don't remember why that hit the streets so late. It wasn't due to any personal deadline surfing on my part, I promise. But I just thought that was a great jab from a fellow media colleague, and I thought it was funny. The world's better when we get to laugh at ourselves, right? We're willing to laugh at ourselves. Now, for any students in the audience or those at home watching on C-SPAN, here now is the sage advice from the elderly has-been. Reporters, you represent our democracy's most important guardrail. Embrace your responsibility to hold those in power accountable. Ask the hard questions and fact-check the liars. Like the man said, if somebody says it's raining outside and then somebody else says it's dry, it's not your job to quote them both. It's your job to look out the effing window and find out which is true. PR folks, keep in mind, pitch emails and press releases are the essence of storytelling, so treat them as such. Learn to shoot and edit compelling video. Get good on social media, but don't be a jackass online. Common sense, right? Finally, don't shy away from the unconventional. Transplanting to work in D.C. after 20 years in Hollywood was one of the most unconventional moves that I could have made. And things turned out pretty well. So as the folks at Apple Computers were so fond of saying back in the day, think different. I am immensely grateful for my time here in Mount Pleasant. Central Michigan University gave me everything I needed to forge the career that I was able to build. From the knowledge and experience that I gained to the people with whom I interacted with in and outside of the classroom. In short, it's great to be a CMU Chippewa. Now, my sincere thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for your kind indulgence tonight. I have one last photo to share with you. God, we're almost an hour late. Ted, can you bring that up for me? Now, this is a screenshot taken in 1996, the first time that I was ever spotted on a Good Day LA broadcast. And with apologies to Gary Shandling, holy crap, these pants really do make my ass look fat. Thanks so much, everyone. Thank you, CMU. Fire up, Chips.
She said Rich, thank you so much, and congratulations. What a night. 6 new members of the CMU Media Hall of Fame. Again, congratulations to each and every one of you.